Hello folks, my name is Taylor, welcome to another 2K Central video where I'm going to be your history teacher for the day. Mafia 3 is set in the year 1968 and on the website they have a timeline for the most turbulent year in America. And so I'm going to go through all the important events that happened that year and how it will affect your game. Number 1. Johnny Cash performs at Folsom State Prison in California. Now, one of the most famous performances of all time, Johnny Cash was back with June Carter, Carl Perkins and the Tennessee Three as they performed two historical shows at Folsom State Prison in California on January the 13th, 1968. A live album was recorded that day and At Folsom Prison became one of the most popular recordings of all time, outselling even the Beatles. Johnny Cash himself stated it revitalised his career as it was going downhill for him due to drugs and the inability to create another hit record. So in Mafia 3 we will be hearing Johnny Cash on that radio and we'll hear the radio mention Folsom Prison, maybe even using the recording from the live album. I'm so happy about this because Johnny Cash is one of my all-time favourite artists, and if you haven't seen the movie Walk the Line about his life, then please definitely watch it. Now I get to gun down some hoes while hearing his music and I don't know if there's anything better than that. Number 2. On January 22nd, GRIS-GRIS, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, the debut album of famed New Orleans recording artist Dr. John is released. Now, despite the album's New Orleans style, it was recorded in California, albeit with several native New Orleans musicians. I'll be honest, I haven't heard of the album or artist, but it has really good songs in there that get you into the Mafia 3 mood. The songs sound like the songs they use for Mafia 3 trailers, so I'll be happy to drive around to that kind of music. The reason this is important is because in 1968, the album failed to chart in the UK and the US, but in late 90s and early 2000s, the album was revisited by critics and was highly rated. In 2003, the album was ranked number 143 on Rolling Stone magazine's list of 500 greatest albums of all time, even though it did not chart during the release time. Go give the album a listen, it's quite good. Number 3. The Tet Offensive. On January 31st, 1968, some 70,000 North Vietnamese and Viet Cong forces launched the Tet Offensive, named for the Lunar New Year called Tet, a coordinated series of fierce attacks on more than 100 cities and towns in South Vietnam. General Vo Nguyen Giap, I just butchered that name, leader of the Communist People's Army of Vietnam, planned the offensive in an attempt both to start rebellion among the South Vietnamese population and encourage the United States to scale back its support of the Saigon regime. Though US and South Vietnamese forces managed to hold off the communist attacks, news coverage of the offensive shocked the American public and further discouraged support for the war effort. Despite heavy casualties, North Vietnam achieved a strategic victory with the Tet Offensive as the attacks marked a turning point in the Vietnam War and the beginning of the slow, painful American withdrawal from the region. So we will definitely be hearing about this in Mafia 3. Not only will we hear it on the radio announcements, but as we know, Lincoln was a soldier in the Vietnam War, so this could affect him. He was on leave and then didn't return due to his second family dying, but maybe he didn't have to return as US forces were withdrawn due to the Tet Offensive. On top of this, we will hear people on the street talking about it, and so it plays a significant part in the war side of the story and really creates that immersive experience in New Bordeaux. Number 4. Bill Graham opens the Fillmore East in New York City. Now, Bill Graham was a rock promoter who bought over a Yiddish cinema and reopened it on March the 8th, 1968 as a live studio for some of the biggest names in rock at the time. Again with the music, the studio recorded tons of live albums. Some of the people who recorded live albums include Jimi Hendrix, John Lennon, Yoko Ono, the Allman Brothers and Miles Davis. Why is this important in Mafia 3? Well, we'll be hearing all these big influential artists through our playthrough of the game, so this is a big reveal into all kinds of songs within the game. Number 5. RFK announces candidacy for President of the United States on March 16th, 1968. Now, following the assassination of his brother, JFK, RFK announces that he would follow in his footsteps. This got America talking as another Kennedy was going into office and will most definitely affect the people in Mafia 3. You'll hear it on the radio, people talking about it, and you may even see campaign posters and ads around New Bordeaux of RFK's candidacy. At least it's not Trump. Touchy subject, moving on. Number 6. Martin Luther King Jr. is fatally shot at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, as the world knows, Martin Luther King campaigned in a peaceful way for civil rights in America. The US had deja vu following JFK's assassination, and now everybody was on edge once again, whether you were black or white. This is the most important impact on the Mafia 3 game, as the biggest part of New Bordeaux atmosphere is the tension between black and white people. All districts in New Bordeaux have different atmospheres. Black and white people don't get on at all in some districts, but in others they are more tolerant of each other. The fact that one of the most significant and influential campaigners for civil rights has just been murdered, the tensions will explode across the whole map, and we will see it in the news, across the whole game, on radios and posters and people talking. There will also be riots and protests on the street, as we've mentioned in previous videos, and you could actually run over everyone in the protest. I don't know why you'd do that, but it's there. There may even be missions that mention the assassination, or that the assassination in some way affects the missions. Number 7. James Brown appears on national television in effort to calm tensions in the US following the assassination of MLK. Not only will this reach news, but it tells us that we will also be hearing James Brown music in Mafia 3. I really like James Brown as well. Number 8. The Civil Rights Act. Now, the Civil Rights Act of 1968 is signed by Lyndon B. Johnson, so following the death of Martin Luther King, the Civil Rights Act has finally been passed and the tension in America slightly lifted. Overall, across New Bordeaux, while playing, there will be less tension, and even police in some areas may not act as harsh as they did before. Due to segregation before the act, Lincoln may not have been allowed in some areas of the map without using violence or sneaking in. Now Lincoln will be legally allowed in these places. Number 9. The RFK assassination. Now, Robert F. Kennedy is shot and killed at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, California. Now, America is now back to panicking after just having civil rights passed. 1968 is clearly a rollercoaster of a year because now everyone is back on edge. The map will be bombarded with news reports, people will once again act defensively, and the mood of New Bordeaux will be affected once again. Number 10. Led Zeppelin perform for the first time billed as the new Yardbirds. This is another hint of who we'll be hearing while playing Mafia 3. So far the music in this game is looking to be the best music I've known in any game, and if all these people are in it, then oh my god, we're going to be jamming while we drive. Number 11. The US athletes' silent demonstration for civil rights during Summer Olympics in Mexico City. So although civil rights had passed, the racist views of some Americans still persisted, and the battle for civil rights was not completely over. Tommy Smith and John Carlos, gold and bronze medalists in the 200 metres, stood with their heads bowed and a black gloved hand raised as the American national anthem played during the victory ceremony. The pair both wore black socks and no shoes, and Smith wore a black scarf around his neck. They were demonstrating against continuing racial discrimination of black people in the United States. As they left the podium at the end of the ceremony, they were even booed by many in the crowd. So even though I said the police will be more lenient with Lincoln after the act had passed, they still won't favour him over a white man, as the past act did not change the views of racist Americans. Number 12. The 1968 presidential elections. Now, Nixon wins 43.4% of the popular vote. There's a new president in town, and this just adds to the constant change of America in 1968. By the time this game is finished, we will probably all be experts of history, as it's all we hear while we play, which personally I like. Number 13. 500,000 people march on Washington DC for peace, becoming the largest anti-war rally ever in US history. Now, American people had enough and were now trying to properly change the country they lived in. They had campaigned for civil rights, and that problem started its way of being resolved. Now they had to target what was actually killing their men and affect the mentality of the Americans. So they done this protest, which was the beginning of the end to the war. It ultimately led Nixon to state in 1969 that the Vietnam War was ending. We will be seeing protests in New Bordeaux about this, and there may even be missions involving these protests. Number 14. The Apollo 8. This was the first manned spacecraft to orbit the moon. I found this one funny because it doesn't really have an effect on the game, but it's still a cool event that happened in 1968. It reminds me of the final mission in Mafia 2 in the Zvezda Observatory with the planetarium. Could this be Hangar 13 hinting at another mission in an observatory? This is a little far-fetched, but how good would it be if we got to go back to that observatory, or even Empire Bay for that matter? But anyway, that's the end of this history lesson. I hope you enjoyed and learned something. 1968 was an unbelievably significant year in America, and I now finally understand why Hangar 13 chose to set Mafia 3 in this time, apart from it being just a cool era. Knowing all this stuff just makes me not able to wait for the game and to be so immersed in its world. Tell me what your thoughts are down below. Thanks for checking out the channel, and subscribe to 2K Central for the best goddamn Mafia stuff on YouTube. But I will see you all next time. Bye bye. Get